Alright, so you want to wake up early in the morning, study for 6 hours, and then work on the hobby that you always wanted to work on, or keep working hard. But you can't do it because you're addicted to your phone, or you just procrastinate a lot, you daydream a lot. Okay, but this doesn't make you lazy because you're not. Today, I'm going to be talking about why you can't get any work done because you're not lazy. It's just your dopamine overflowing through your body. Okay, let's get started. Alright, so most of the information in this video are from this book called Dopamine Detox, so I'm going to be referencing to this book a lot today. Alright, so let's learn about what dopamine actually is. So dopamine is a neurotransmitter which allows us to anticipate rewards. For example, when you're hungry, your brain releases dopamine, which allows you to anticipate the reward of getting food, and then the dopamine hormone kind of pushes you to get some food from the table. Yes. Now, on the contrary to what other people think, dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. Yes, your whole life was a lie. That's why I wrote this thing on the thumbnail, because it was. So, dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. So, just because dopamine gets released whenever you watch a YouTube short doesn't mean you necessarily like the short. It's just that the dopamine is just pushing you to be hungry for more YouTube shorts. Think of it as the more and more chemical, which gets you to think that I want more of it, but you don't actually need more of it. Okay, so now we'll talk about what actually triggers the release of dopamine. So there are actually a lot of outside stimuli which triggers the release of the hormone, which can include YouTube Shorts, YouTube long-form videos, Facebook, Instagram, TikToks, and more. Dopamine can also be released because of video games, and eating, over-exercising, overthinking, and more. Oh, I forgot one, which is music. Alright, so now let's talk about why too much dopamine is a problem. So dopamine actually makes you to crave for more immediate rewards than rewards that are long-term or long-term success. And it doesn't allow you to think long-term. Let's picture an example. So when you go on to scroll on YouTube Shorts or on TikTok or in Reels, whenever you watch one short, you start to crave for more. You start to watch one more and then another one and then another one and then another one again. And then you just crave for more immediate rewards, which is craving more and more shorts or more and more reels, which is really bad for our brain. And because of that, you can't wait longer for any of the outcomes. For example, you're studying for a test, but you can't wait for the bigger outcome, which is to get a good result. So instead, you go on to scrolling on your phone, which gets you an immediate reward, but then dopamine gets released. But just because dopamine gets released doesn't mean you necessarily like that short or that YouTube video, which is very bad for our productivity. And also you might notice after watching hours of YouTube shorts or reels or TikToks, your eyes feel drained, your body feels drained, and then also your mind feels drained. And overall, you feel drained, which is actually very bad for our physical health as well. So now we're going to be learning about what is the solution to this problem, which is to get a dopamine detox. So now what is a dopamine detox? It is when for 24 hours or 48 hours you decide to stay away from your stimulations. It could be YouTube, it could be your phone, it could be music, or anything else that you're stimulated to. Also, this video actually comes with a free PDF, the link is in the description box, which allows you to journal out what are your main stimulations, what are your main distractions, and then you can also find out what triggers the release of your dopamines and what is the traps, like the dopamine relapse traps. So you can just journal it out in that free printable. You can use your iPad to do it. You can also print that out as well. So yeah, we're going to be talking more on that later. Okay, so first of all, for a dopamine detox, you have to write down all the things that you're stimulated to in that printable, or you can also use an empty notebook as well. And then for 24 hours or in 48 hours, you must stay away from all of that. For example, a healthier alternative to YouTube can be reading books or doing some meditation You can also try some exercise. You can try working more. Or another thing you can do for better productivity is you can start first thing in the morning. For example, you have that project to finish. Then you can just start really early in the morning. Whenever you wake up, the first thing you do is that thing. Okay, now for what dopamine detox should you choose? I would say that 48-hour one works best because I have tried that out myself, and after 2 days or 48 hours, I felt much better and I didn't feel much drained. So yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about how to avoid the dopamine relapse. So for that, I want you to just go about your day normally after that dopamine detox and just kind of observe what you do, and like if you're going on your phone or why you're going on your phone, what are the thoughts behind going on your phone, why are you procrastinating, like just observe every bit of your day, and then at the end of the day before going to sleep, just take your printable out or take your PDF out and then start writing down every single thing that triggers you to touch your phone or touch your distraction. And then from the next day, get aware of when these triggers actually happen. For example, you might think before touching your phone, oh, I can do this later. And then you can touch your phone. So then be aware of when you think these stuff. So yeah. And then also, know that the world is actually against you. For example, YouTube, Facebook, and all these apps were actually designed to get your attention, and because your attention is very valuable and it's very hard to get it. So they actually designed it, they actually planned the app to actually just fit your needs and get you more and more dopamine. That's it. And the more you get exposed to that stimulation, the more your tolerance to that stimulation strengthens, and which is very bad for us, obviously, as I mentioned earlier. So know that the world and the distractions are against you, and they won't allow you to think long-term successes. Just remind yourself that, okay? Be conscious enough. Okay, so most of the time, one of our New Year's resolutions are always to eat healthier and also less sugar intake, have less sugar intake, and most of the time, our packaged foods contain sugar. Do you know why? Because sugar triggers the release of dopamine, which allows us to crave more food and more sugary foods, which doesn't allow us to eat much healthier. So be aware of what foods you purchase and what packaged foods you purchase, because that will be bad for your New Year's resolution. So yeah. Alright, so now we've come to the end of this video. Let's sum this up. First of all, dopamine is a neurotransmitter which allows us to anticipate rewards. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical, which means that just because we want to do a distraction and we crave for that distraction doesn't mean that we necessarily like it. Dopamine actually hurts the way of long-term thinking. So we can't think long-term because of the overflowing of dopamine in our bodies. And then for stopping dopamine from overflowing, we can try doing a dopamine detox. It could be 24 hours, 48 hours, but 48 hours works best. So yeah. And then for avoiding the dopamine to relapse again, we can try to look out for our traps, our dopamine traps, and then we can also try to think that the world is against us, the food companies are against us, and we should start self-awareness. All right, so now that's it with this video. Be sure to subscribe for more productivity content and study content. All right, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.